Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our first press briefing of today, coming to you from the headquarters of the African Union in Addis Ababa. I want to welcome everybody who's here in person and also to all the audiences who are joining us online. Thank you very much for being with us. It is my honor and pleasure today to moderate this press briefing by His Excellency Moses Vilakati, who is the Commissioner responsible for Agriculture, Rural Development, Blue Economy, and Sustainable Environment. The format of our briefing is that the Commissioner will give his statement outlining the following three key areas. He will start by briefing you on the African Union theme of the year for 2026. And that theme is assuring sustainable water availability and safe sanitation systems to achieve the goals of Agenda 2063. Then he will move on to an outline on the Kampala CAADP domestication guidelines before concluding with updates on digital agriculture. So after the briefing by the Commissioner, then we will go on to our Q&A, and during that time, you will be free to raise your hand to ask questions or ask for clarification. Once you've been nominated to speak, please start by introducing yourself, your name, and the media organization that you're representing. Then ask your question. So that is the format of our briefing today. Commissioner, it is now your time. I hand over to you for your briefing.
Thank you very much, moderator, and a good morning to you all. The first part is about the theme for this year, which is assuring sustainable water availability and safe sanitation systems to achieve the goals of Agenda 2063. As we are all aware, water is life. It is estimated that over 400 million people in the African continent lack water for their daily livelihoods, and over 800 million still lack basic hygiene services. Compounding this is the persistent gap between required and available investment on water and sanitation. There is an annual shortfall of approximately US 30 billion to meet the SDG 6 targets. It is against these drivers and challenges that the African Union adopted the theme of the year as water and sanitation. This reflects a collective recognition of the strategic importance of water and sanitation as an essential element of human security, social stability, and the economic transformation on the continent, and also a strong indication of commitment at the highest level, which helps raising water agenda and its profile. The exact AU theme is assuring sustainable water availability and safe sanitation systems to achieve the goals of Agenda 2063. I can repeat, assuring sustainable water availability and safe sanitation systems to achieve the goals of Agenda 2063. This theme is linked to Agenda 2063, the African Union's long-term development blueprint, which is aimed at transformation, inclusive growth, poverty eradication, improved food security, and climate resilience. Sustainable water management is essential for realizing all these multiple aspirations of Agenda 2063. One can ask why water and sanitation, and maybe why now? Ladies and gentlemen, there is no life without water, and no development is possible without water. Water connects all development sectors, serving as an essential resource for agriculture, for energy, for industry, as well as the natural environment, which is a crucial source of livelihood for a significant portion of the African population, especially in our rural areas. That doesn't, of course, preclude the urban areas as well. There is therefore a need to immediately elevate water from a sectorial issue to a core strategic asset for Africa's economic growth, for Africa's stability and climate resilience, which is underpinned with a strong political commitment. We are saying, let there be a political commitment amongst member states throughout Africa for better livelihood for all. As Africa, we need to urgently and significantly invest in water, which is our cornerstone for life. We are saying to member states, their budgets for water needs to recognize the importance of water for their development. As we look forward, we are saying this theme, therefore, underscores the critical role of water and sanitation, and it acts as a springboard for broader socio-economic development and growth in the continent in addressing urgent and strategic challenges facing the environment. The AUC, or the African Union Commission, has developed a roadmap which aims to catalyze transformative changes in water and sanitation. The key areas of action of this roadmap include governance and policies, political commitments, financing and investment, building and strengthening partnerships, knowledge and enhancement of capacities for our member states. These will therefore be implemented at all levels across the continent throughout the year. In addition, the AU theme for 2026 complements other continental flagship initiatives to motivate action towards achieving the AU Agenda 2063 goal of environmentally sustainable and climate resilient economies and communities. This will be realized through adopting and strengthening an integrated and interdisciplinary approach, as well as ensuring synergy and vertical alignment in the action plans for both the theme of the year 2026 and the UN 2026 Water Conference. Furthermore, the AU 2026 theme is anchored to the development of the first implementation framework, which is from 2026 to 2033 for the Africa's Water Vision 2063, as well as its policy. We are saying, as the AUC, let us all stand up and support water development and management for the future of our continent. I thank you. Coming to the next issue, which is about CADIP, as well as digital transformation. Our meeting here is an important moment in our collective effort to strengthen food security, and advance rural development, as well as accelerate Africa's digital transformation. We are all aware that Africa is still food insecure, and therefore we need measures and mechanisms to make sure that Africa can be food secured. Africa's long-term development vision, as expressed in the AU Agenda 2063, calls for inclusive growth of the continent. It calls for sustainable development. It also calls for the modernization of agriculture as a driver for prosperity for all. Let's quickly look at the Comprehensive African Agricultural Development Program, as well as the Kampala Declaration. Last year in 2025, the Kampala Declaration was adopted, and it reaffirmed our determination in Africa to accelerate agricultural transformation under the CAADP framework. It strengthened our shared commitment to improving food security, to building resilience, and enhancing mutual accountability across all of our member states. Across the continent, member states continue aligning their national agriculture investment plans with the CAADP principle. This work is supported through policy assistance, through peer learning, through capacity building, and ongoing improvements to the CAADP biennial review indicators. We have already achieved major milestones with the completion of the CAADP domestication guidelines. These guidelines provide a unified, practical framework to support member states in integrating CAADP commitments into their national agri-food systems investment plans. These guidelines also enhance coherence. They improve planning quality and create a more harmonized implementation process across the continent. Alongside this, ladies and gentlemen, we are completing the development of the Kampala CAADP results framework as well as its indicators. This work is essential for establishing a clear and coherent system for measuring progress, strengthening accountability, and ensuring consistent evidence-based tracking of implementation across our member states. The framework provides standardized indicators, expected outcomes, as well as a stronger foundation for biennial review process. In addition, CAADP is being positioned for adoption as a flagship program under the second 10-year implementation plan of the AU Agenda 2063. This strategic elevation will significantly enhance its visibility as well as unlock greater opportunities for sustainable funding and support. It also aligns CAADP more directly with Africa's long-term development vision and ensures agricultural transformation receives prominence and resources which are necessary to deliver real impact in our member states. Despite this progress, there exist some remaining challenges, which could also be opportunities. Persistent financing gaps, intensifying climate-related shocks, limited adoption of digital tools, as well as insufficient extension and advisory capacity for member states. As we move through 2026, our focus will be to deepen the technical support, strengthen data-driven accountability, as well as assist member states as they operationalize both the domestication guidelines and the results framework ahead of the next review cycle, which begins in 2027. We are hoping with this, the food security issue will be addressed in Africa. We are presently spending close to US 70 billion importing food to Africa on an annual basis. We need to change that narrative. Now, coming back to the digital agriculture and transformation, which we need to share with yourselves. Digital transformation continues to reshape African agriculture. It is improving access to timely information, strengthening resilience, and enabling smarter, data-driven decision-making across all the value chains. Following the successful conclusion of the inaugural AU Digital Agriculture Conference, the African Union Commission reaffirmed its commitment to accelerating digital transformation in Africa's agricultural sector. The AU Digital Agricultural Strategy 2024 to 2030 provides a continental framework for scaling digital tools, improving food and nutrition security, boosting resilience, and creating new economic opportunities, particularly for our youth. Digitalization through e-extension platforms, advisory apps, remote sensing, digital marketplaces, and climate information systems are a core driver of agricultural modernization and resilience across Africa. The strategy, ladies and gentlemen, provides guidance to member states for the development of digital tools to enhance productivity, improve market access, and integrate climate-smart technologies. It supports inclusive growth, food security, and youth employment, which are all aligned with the goals of the AU Agenda 2063, the Africa that we want, as well as the Malabo commitments. The strategy also underscores the need to expand broadband coverage, improve affordability, and strengthen rural connectivity to ensure digital services reach farmers on scale. Our strategic priorities for the implementation of the strategies are as follows. 1, scaling digital advisory and extension services. These tools enable farmers to access timely agronomic advice, timely climate alerts, pest disease updates, and market information, helping the farmers to make informed decisions as well as improved yields for the farmers. 2, the strategy prioritizes digital marketplace and e-commerce. Digital platforms will strengthen the value chains by connecting farmers to transparent, efficient markets and reducing post-harvest losses. 3, the strategy will look at improved data governance. The strategy emphasizes responsible data use, privacy protections, and interoperable systems to support trust, transparency, and cross-border collaboration. The strategy also looks at youth empowerment and job creation. Digital agriculture is a way of unlocking new opportunities in agri-tech entrepreneurship, software development, data services, equipment maintenance, as well as smart farm operations. In 2026, we have priority actions that will be following. 1, we will be supporting member states to roll out national digital agriculture strategies which are aligned with the digital agricultural strategy. 2, we will strengthen digital literacy programs for farmers, extension officers, as well as the youth. 3, we will assist in investing in rural connectivity, investing in platforms and interoperable data systems. 4, the priority action will include deepening partnerships with the private sector, with innovators and development partners. Ladies and gentlemen, digital agriculture is central to Africa's agricultural transformation. By scaling innovation, strengthening institutions, and promoting inclusive digital ecosystems, the African Union Commission aims to build a more resilient, a more competitive, and food secure continent. I thank you all.
Thank you very much, Excellency Vilakati. There you are, colleagues. You've heard the Commissioner talk to us on those 3 critical elements. First, he started by briefing us on the theme of the year and what is being done, including highlighting the roadmap. Then he went on to the Kampala CAADP domestication guidelines and ended up talking about digital agriculture. I was very happy to see a role there for the young people of the continent, and that we are planning for them to find interest in agriculture. So now we've come to our question and answer section. As we indicated at the beginning, please show your interest by raising your hand. And once you've been asked to speak, please start with your name and the organization that you're representing, and then give us your question. Can I have a show of hands? We have one here. Maybe we can take 2 or 3 together. Okay, then we have the lady at the back. Please proceed.
Commissioner, first, I would like to congratulate you and to tell you happy birthday.
Sorry. I don't know if our microphones can pick it up. Just let us fix your microphone.
I am Halawi Abdulmajid from Moroccan National Television. Your Honorable, I would like first to congratulate you and to tell you happy birthday as a commissioner. You celebrate your first year in this position. Congratulations and good luck. As a Moroccan, I'd like to know the African Union point of view about Moroccan development in the area of agriculture and rural development, and how can the Kingdom of Morocco contribute to enhance agriculture in Africa. Thank you, Your Honorable.
Can I just have your name again? Halawi. All right. There was a lady in the back.
Thank you so much. My name is Edith from China Daily. And you talked about development partners, and I understand that China is one of the great development partners for Africa.
Which one? Sorry? You said which development partner?
China.
Oh, China, okay.
Yeah, and the country is committed to supporting Africa through FOCAC on its food security and gender. So probably, I know they've done a lot, including introduction of hybrid seeds and also joint research. Are there tangible results from this? And what should African countries do to benefit from such opportunities? Thank you.
Thank you, Excellency. Over to you for your responses.
Once again, thank you very much. Happy birthday to me. It's always an honor, you know, to have spent a year. It's like yesterday, because of the amount of work that I've been involved in this department, a very demanding department. As you might be aware, it covers agriculture, it covers rural development, it covers blue economy, which is the sea, the water, all the water, and then it covers obviously the water sector, it covers climate change, it covers biodiversity, all these, the wetlands, etc., all these are key to each member state. So it's an honor for me to lead that process for Africa. Specifically, you are saying to what extent can Morocco's development assist other member states in Africa? It's a very important question. Morocco, as you might be aware, has been amongst the champions when it comes to production and productivity. On every 2 years, we have what is called basically biennial reviews. Morocco has been amongst the top 10 countries that has performed generally well, because we have not yet achieved what we want to achieve, but Morocco is up there. So in terms of this development agenda that we're about, I believe from a peer-to-peer learning, Morocco can share its development expertise to Africa. So that's one of the areas where it can share its expertise to make sure that no one is left behind. In our Agenda 2063, we always emphasize that no one should be left behind. And we look up to Morocco to actually assist us in these regards. Morocco has also done well when it comes to fertilizer development, which can be replicated to other member states in Africa, which we believe then can enhance the production as well as the productivity. You might be aware that when it comes to fertilizer and fertilization in Africa, we are still way, way below what we ought to apply. On average, just in our last biennial review, only about 14 countries were nearly up to 50 kg per hectare application of fertilizer. Yet when you look at the first world, the Europa, the Americas, and whatever, they are already applying between 100 to 130 kg per hectare. Yet we are still trying to get to 50 kg. Morocco is already there at about 50 kg, but compared to the other continents, we are still a long way to go. But in terms of fertilizer, Morocco is doing well. Also, in terms of water, particularly in the irrigation sphere, Morocco's development can also be emulated by other countries, because we have been developing lots of irrigation systems. Of course, we have even gone to an extent of desalination, which can be an expensive exercise, but it serves the communities, because drought, particularly in the Sahel region, it is well known that there are years when we have got drought. I know that even in Morocco, up north, we have had about 3 to 5 years drought. But because of your resilience, you have been able to be productive. And that is what we can learn as other African countries. Now, my sister also touched on the issue of China's support to Africa. China has really done wonderful work in supporting Africa's development agenda, particularly in the agricultural field. When you look at the improvisation of seeds, particularly on rice and other seeds to Africa, they have assisted our member states to make sure that they can be more productive. But there's still more that can be done, particularly when it comes to ensuring that we are food secured. The cut-up that I talked about is saying that by 2030, 45% of the agri-foods must come from within Africa. Must come from within Africa. So partners like China would be are warmly welcomed to make sure that we can now reach the goals that we want to be. Because we're still spending these large sums of money, which could have been utilized for health, for education, for infrastructure for Africa. So we're looking forward to even more partners. We're looking at even more partnership with China to make sure that Africa can start getting these agri-foods from within Africa.
Thank you so much. We move into our second round of questions. Do we have any more questions? I see one hand at the back. It seems all questions are coming from the left side of the room. So we have one right at the back. We have this gentleman here.
There's no right.
And then we have then we have another hand here. So please, let's start with you at the back.
Thank you very much.
Please use your microphone.
Yeah.
If you can
Hello?
stand up a bit
Yeah.
so that...
My name is Solomon from Fana Media Corporation. I have
Fana?
questions for the Commissioner. Yeah, Fana Television. So, how is the African Union supporting the Ethiopian national digital agriculture?
My
with
brother,
the themes of the
my
Agenda
brother,
2020.
my brother, can you stand up so that I can hear? Otherwise, I can't
Thank
hear.
you.
And just,
My name is
just don't rush the question. Just so that I can be able to capture everything. I'm sorry, my
So,
brother.
I have two questions. For you. How is the African Union supporting Ethiopian national digital agriculture? Agenda 2023. So, related with this, Ethiopia is working on the rural corridors development. So, how does Ethiopian rural corridor development initiative align the African Union goals for resilience and sustainable development? So, serve as
I'm trying hard. I'm sure my team, you can help me. I have a strong team here. So it's because I think it
okay.
was,
Can I
Just hold on, please. I think the microphone was not
was not audible enough.
loud enough for us to hear. Please, can we give our colleague the chance
But
again?
I think the question, yeah.
corridor development initiatives align with African Union goals for the resilience and sustainable rural agri-food system. So can it serve as a model for other African countries? So Ethiopia is moving on the rural corridor development related with agriculture system.
Okay.
The
Thank you.
corridor development, I think it's
Thank
specific
you.
to Ethiopia.
The next speaker was right
Do
here.
you know about it? Just write me the answer. Okay.
Please go ahead.
Is it on? My name is Becker. I represent CGTN. My question is on Ethiopia's national wheat development program, wheat production.
Wait, okay.
So there has been a massive wheat production program in the country. And what do you make out of that program? And has there been any support provided by the AU for this national program for towards food issues?
Okay.
Thank you. Our third question is from this side.
Thank you so much, Commissioner, for giving us a good explanation. I am Alaza from Sputnik Africa. I have 3 questions. The first one is how
Three?
Yeah. The first one is how can Africa tap into its untapped abundance in water resources and to strategically leverage its advantage in global agenda, globally. The second one is how the EU planned to protect its water resources from external actors who try to extensively.
Just come back on the second one.
How can EU planned to protect its water resources from external actors who try to extensively exploit to their own advantage? The third one is how the African Union planned to use the national and continental mega projects like GERD, the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, as a shared value to promote partnership among its member states. Thank you.
Thank you. Can you just tell me your news agency again? Sputnik. All right.
Yeah, it
So
was-
there we are, Commissioner. We have questions from FANA, from CGTN, and from
These are
Sputnik.
very difficult questions. Okay, let me get going. I think it started with AUC support on Ethiopia's digital development. You know, we are very, very grateful for, as AUC, that we are located in this beautiful city of Addis Ababa, a city that is developing every day. You know, if you are away for 1 year, you get lost in this city. But also we're very grateful for what, you know, Ethiopia has done, particularly in its development agenda. I will combine that with the wheat one. The digital transformation that it has done. I was really amazed when I went to the, I think it's Ministry of Skills and Labor and what one, if I'm not mistaken, where they were showing me the skills development that is obtaining in Ethiopia, as well as the digital transformation that is there. We really are excited as the AUC because it can easily be now transferred to other member states. To what extent are we supporting that? We're fully in support of what is happening. With us as the AUC, if we find a particular technology or innovation, we then share it with all the member states. Fortunately, I was very also excited when I met the Prime Minister, who eloquently said to me, all the technology that is here in Ethiopia, please share it with member states. And we will soon be doing that. In particular, because digital transformation, particularly the AI that we're about, is the in thing. It's for the youth, like yourselves. I'm not sure who is no longer youth here. It's for the youth to make sure that digital transformation can help us. As I was presenting, we were saying we see a huge opportunity on digital transformation, particularly in the agriculture space, because our youth are shunning agriculture. They're running away from agriculture because it's hard. You're using a hoe, you're using all of this, and tardy. But with digital transformation, while you are sitting here, you will be irrigating your farm at your own place. While you are sitting in here, you will be stopping the irrigation. You will be feeding your poultry. You will be feeding your piggery. So that's why this AI is so important. I don't want to expand because I know that as we are moving forward, we would like to see digital transformation taking a lead in what we do. Critically, even the fertilization. When you talk about precision farming, it's all about digital transformation. So that the moment you're on a tractor, you know how much to apply as fertilizer, how much to spray, all through digital transformation. And we're saying, thank you, Ethiopia, we are prepared to assist where, as much as possible we can. But, you know, assisting is also a two-way kind of thing. You learn from somebody, but you also give some expertise or experience from what you know. When it comes to the wheat program, as AUC, we're very excited. I had an opportunity to meet the Minister of Agriculture, and we're going through this process. We realized where Ethiopia started and where they are right now, up to an extent where they are now exporting wheat. That's a milestone, and we're very, very grateful. Also, when it comes to wheat, it's one of those enterprises where we're spending huge sums of money. When I was talking about the US 70 to 100 billion that we utilize on importing foods, at the topmost, it's wheat. Why is that so? Because of the demographics. Our youth enjoy wheat products. The bread of this world, whatever. They don't like the other stuff. Even if you give them, they'll still go for the wheat products. So which means if we expand on these ones, this leads me to the issue of which are the 3 or 4 critical imports to Africa. The first one, as I've pointed out, is wheat. So Ethiopia is already helping us to say we can now reduce when it comes to wheat imports. We want to see other countries emulating that so that the import bill is actually reduced. The second one is rice. Our African countries eat a lot of rice, and therefore, if we can concentrate on that, there will be that import substitution. The third one is maize and millet, which is also where a lot is still imported outside of Africa. Not only white maize, but also yellow maize. And of course, the others are edible oils, the sunflowers, etc., etc. But these are the key enterprises. So if we can focus our attention on these, this import bill can be reduced. Corridor development, I'm not aware what it is. So can you explain what the corridor what called? But I can go straight to the one on how Africa can tap into the water, as well as how it can protect its water from exploitation. Now, Africa's conditions are different. There are other countries that get huge sums of lots of water, lots of rainwater, because our agriculture is still rain-fed form of agriculture. And we need to transition from that. Transition from rain-fed agriculture to an agriculture that is resilient, that we can be assured that we'll be able to grow our crops even 360 or 365 days or 364 days, depending on which year it is. So we need to tap into the water that is available. Some of these areas that are getting abundant water, they do not fully utilize even their own dams, their own lakes. These dams and lakes, some of them harbor very good, nutritious food, like fish, which is of importance, particularly in the blue economy. Also, our land, particularly the coastal land, they've got access to the oceans and seas, which are abound, because Africa is more or less in an island. So we could utilize the technology on desalination to make sure that we can get that water, tap into that water for the benefit of our agricultural systems, as well as for drinking purposes, because even on drinking purposes, I shared the numbers, which are really huge. We are talking of 400 million who still cannot access drinking water. where kids, instead of going to school, they're spending more time going to fetch water every day, 8 kilometers, 10 kilometers. That is not really acceptable. We should change that narrative. Now, excuse me, AU to protect water exploitation. You know, water, I said, is life. So we should fully utilize it for our livelihood, for irrigation purposes, for energy, for industrialization. Now, therefore, we need to make sure that that water is shared for all, so that we can all benefit from it. This starts with the wetlands. You see, the source of water is usually the wetlands. Ensuring that we have protected those wetlands to make sure that those who are downstream can then experience the water for irrigation and for development. So we would really like to make sure that all the water is fully utilized. But there's usually a challenge when it comes to pollution, particularly plastics, single-use plastics. And I'm happy countries are now moving towards, can I say, eliminating, or I don't know which term to use, single-use plastics, because they suffocate the fish in there, they make the water dirty, etc., etc. We need to make sure that we can do our part. How can dams be shared? Generally, we always aspire as Africa because we are one. All Africans, we expect them to support each other to make sure that the water resources can be shared. I think time is running out. What did you want to say here? I can't see this handwriting. I don't have my spectacles. Eh?
I can take that.
Can speak on it.
Okay, thank you, Excellency. Thank you, colleagues, also. So basically, the rural development, the rural corridor is the replication of what's happening in the urban areas, the upgrading the cities in Ethiopia, you may have noticed. And in the rural areas also the same thing is happening, especially in terms of improving the rural, upgrading the rural livelihood, access to basic services, electricity, irrigation, sanitary facilities, so the rural community will also benefit where they are. So that's something important, as Excellency referred to. That's something that we can replicate, that we can learn from. It's an initiative that's launched very recently by His Excellency the Prime Minister. So we are also, as a Commission, looking forward to seeing the results so that we can replicate them to the other African countries also. As you may have noticed, our department is agriculture and rural development. The rural development part is critical there. And we also have the rural infrastructure strategy, which can be very useful also to the initiative. But at the same time, we are also looking forward to learn from it. And we recognize it's a very, very important initiative. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I think we have come to the end of our Q&A. I will just hand over to Commissioner for 2 minutes to just highlight and summarize the key points and takeaways that he would like us to go away with from this briefing today. Over to you, Excellency.
Thank you very much, Moderator. And thank you very much to you who asked all of these pertinent questions. I know that they were asking, those who asked the questions, they were asking on behalf of us all. And I hope that we have had the opportunity to also grow from this, because every day you need to grow, learn something new so that you can be able to do even much better, even in future. My takeaways are very clear. One, we need to make sure that we appreciate that water is a precious asset. Let's preserve it. Let's conserve it. We get floods, we get splash type of rainy seasons. Most of that water just goes to the sea. And then during the dry seasons, we do not have water for irrigation. We do not have water for industrialization. I am saying let's fully exploit it, build infrastructures that can contain the water for the future, and our future generations will be happy about us. The second aspect is related to agriculture, the CADP program. The AU Assembly is now going to approve that the CADP become a flagship program. Once it becomes a flagship program, it means every country should now ensure that its investment programs are aligned with CADP. But at the same time, it means each country needs to get the financial support to make sure that this program becomes a reality, which is why we're pushing towards domestication of the CADP program, because it comes up with very strong pillars for development, particularly Pillar 1, where we're talking about high productivity and high production, ensuring that we efficiently and effectively utilize our fertilizer. We ensure that we map our soils and understand what can be grown here, what can be grown there, and when can we do that. It also ensures that let's look at mechanization, particularly when we go large scale. It also ensures that even the food losses are reduced, because we're losing close to 30 to 40% of what we grow, which means we grow, we pump our money in there, at the end, we just allow the birds, the rats, and the mice to enjoy themselves when we have worked so hard. So these are some of the critical things that we need to look at. The last one is on digitalization. The only way in which we can now succeed is to make sure that we embrace digitalization. We should be able to communicate with the farmer. It doesn't matter where he is. The farmer should be saying, this is my locale. What type of fertilizer should I apply here? And what are the quantities that I should apply? That means that area needs to be known in terms of its soil capacity, which we can then conserve in the cloud. You know the issue of cloud. Conserve that information there, serve that information there. And then we say, based on this data, we're talking about data-driven agriculture. We can then say, where you are, you have to apply this type of fertilizer, these are the quantities, and then the yields will come. That is the future aspirations in Africa for all of our member states. And if we can embrace that, Africa will be food secured. Yes, we'll still be importing fuel, whatever, but if we can start getting to 50%, 60% of our production and productivity, we will make ourselves to be better. A hungry person is an angry person. So if we have got food, you are going to be happy. I wish you happiness.
Thank you very much, Excellency. And I think we've all benefited. And I'm just concurring that you do have a big task on your hands, because by 2050, we are looking at a population size of about 2.5 billion. And that means that this issue of water is really, really critical for us to be able to continue feeding everybody on the continent. So thank you again, Commissioner, Excellency Moses Vilakati. And he was giving us there the breakdown on the work that the AU is doing on the theme of the year, on CADP, and also on digital agriculture. I want to thank you, colleagues who have joined us in this room today. And I also want to thank everyone who joined us online. I hope you benefited as much as we did. And finally, let me thank our interpreters who always make sure that we are able to listen in to these debates, whichever language that we speak. So thank you very much, colleagues. Our next briefing is coming. Yes, Excellency wants to say something.
Yeah, before I forget, on the 15th, is that correct? We are launching the water vision and policy. What time? I think it's in the evening, on the evening of the 15th at 6 p.m. because we do not want to disturb our heads of states. So it will be here. That's when we'll be elaborating on what we're about and what we can do. Save the date.
Thank you. Let me just conclude by reminding colleagues that our next briefing is coming up immediately after this one, and that will be addressed by the Commissioner for Education, Science, Technology and Innovation, and they will be speaking to Africa's Decade of Education and Skills, and also on STISA, and the focus will be on from knowledge or to wealth on African soil. So that's coming up immediately in about 5 minutes' time. But for now, from me, thank you so much for joining us. Bye-bye.
What does that mean? Politically, that means the focus of that particular year is education. And indeed, it was a successful year. Education got the attention needed. We celebrated, of course, in very big meetings, show business. But then on the ground, what did happen that year? What happened was that a year of education, is that enough? No. So in February 2025, the African Union Assembly declared a decade of accelerated action for transformation of education and skills development in Africa, which is a high-level political commitment to place education, science, technology, and innovation at the center of Africa's socio-economic transformation, industrialization, and peace-building agenda. Africa, as of today, stands at a crossroads. We have two choices. Actually one, but anyway, we can have two. Either we invest in our own children's mind today, that's the option number one, or we pay the price of instability, inequality, and dependence tomorrow. If it was you to choose on behalf of the African continent, what would you choose? Keep your answer. The decade of education builds upon three key continental strategies. The first one is the Continental Education Strategy for Africa. It is called CESA 2026-2035. And the Science, Technology, and Innovation Strategy, STISA 2034. And the Continental TVET Strategy, also 2034. Together, these framework emphasize one on foundational learning. We have a crisis on that. Teacher development, we're all taught and start all from there. Digital transformation, research and innovation commercialization, skills alignment with the green and digital economies, and strengthened African ownership of knowledge systems. 1 year later, the declaration have happened in February 2025, and 1 year later, we are reflecting on a declaration, yes, but more we are reporting on a continental movement that is gaining kind of momentum. Today, we reaffirm Africa's greatest asset, which is actually beyond its natural resources. The narrative has been that, yes, Africa is rich in terms of, natural resources. Yes, indeed, it is. But our greatest asset is in our people, in our minds, in our youth, and in our teachers, our researchers, and in our innovators. The decade of education and skills is a declaration of intellectual sovereignty beyond it being a normal kind of policy initiative like we know them. It recognizes a hard truth. Nearly 80% of our young people under age of 10 cannot read and understand a simple text written in their own language. They cannot. And if we do not urgently address this, we call it learning poverty and skills gap. Our demographic dividend, supposed to be a gold mine, it risks becoming a tick time bomb and a missed opportunity. Through the decade, we have a commitment that by 2034, every African child must achieve foundational literacy and numeracy. It's the minimum. If you can read and count, then you can be useful for the community. Every young person must acquire skills aligned with the green and digital economies. We are becoming very many, and we need to move, sustainable, and the green option is the way to go. And you can't go there if you don't move digital. Every teacher must be trained, valued, and empowered as nation builder. I don't know if among yourself, There are some teachers. I've been a teacher from secondary school up to the university. I've been complaining, they are still complaining on the same. African higher education institutions must become engines of research, innovation, and problem solving. So we have a kind of three transformative shift that we are pushing through that decade, and its pillars, as I mentioned them as strategies. From access to mastery, we want every child to achieve that literacy and that numeracy by age of 10. From diploma to skills, and this is where I think we have been cheated as African. You know, having a paper, even if it doesn't correspond to what you have in your brain, you feel very, very comfortable. And we want every young person to gain not a good paper with a seal, but competencies, especially for the green, digital, and creative economies. That is the current trend. From isolation to innovation, we want each and every teacher, every researcher, every innovator, and every institution to become a vital node in Africa's knowledge system. The key priorities include ending learning poverty through evidence-based reform, that's at country level, expanding teaching and vocational education STEM pathways, advancing the African Common Higher Education area. This is something that I can elaborate on if you have a question. Leveraging on artificial intelligence and education technology to bridge infrastructure gaps, mobilizing sustainable financing through a number of innovative funding. The one we have in the pipeline is the African Education, Science, Technology, and Innovation Fund that is being, discussed and is about to be eventually launched. Before coming here, I was having a meeting with the African Development Bank, which is the one managing this, and I think there is some promising move ahead. Implementation is guided, of course, by a continental steering committee about to be established. We are having a meeting tomorrow at 3. It's a high-level side event whereby we are going to discuss on how collective responsibility can bring all the stakeholders very active in the education sector to contribute and be accountable to the decade of education. This steering committee, as we have proposed it, is expected to be co-chaired, of course chaired by our department, and then co-chaired by UNESCO and UNICEF, and the secretariat be assumed by ADEA, Association for Development of Education in Africa, ensuring African leadership and shared accountability. Progress, we wish the progress in the implementation of the decade of education to be rigorously tracked by a Pan-African index on innovation, education, and cultural empowerment, a homegrown monitoring framework under development today, which we want to design to be able to measure national performance in teacher welfare, learning outcome, digital readiness, and cultural inclusion. So the decade of education is a kind of pact with the governments, with educators, youth, civil society, and partners to invest in Africa's human capital as our most strategic resources. I made reference to an event that is happening now. It's Science, Technology, and Innovation Week. It happens every year. At this time, one of the core aspects of the event was the launch of the implementation strategy for the implementation plan for the Science, Technology, and Innovation Strategy 2034, which is actually our continental blueprint to transform science, technology, and innovation into jobs, industry, and shared prosperity. The STISA implementation plan marks a kind of decisive paradigm shift where our ambition is an Africa which is no longer content to export raw material and import finished solution, but our African continent to harness our own talent, and we have them many, research and ingenuity to create value on African soil and eventually export the same globally. The strategy is focusing on a number of priorities. There are 5. agriculture, health, education, energy, digital technology, and environment. Of course, education is cross-cutting anyway. It is not intentionally mentioned, but it is part of it. It is driven by 6 cross-cutting enablers: accelerating inclusive industrialization, advancing frontier and emerging technologies, including artificial intelligence, quantum science, and biotechnology, strengthening science diplomacy, that's another aspect, deepening private sector engagement, and empowering women and youth as innovators, entrepreneurs, and finally building human capital and research infrastructure. Crucially, STISA moves a bit beyond academic publications as we know them, but towards research and innovation commercialization to create an industrial impact and jobs. Through a flagship initiative like the fund that I just mentioned, and there is another initiative that is called Presidential Youth in AI Robotic Competition, we are building a kind of integrated system that convert African research into African product, African companies, and African jobs. Our African member states are strongly encouraged to increase investment in research and development, towards a target that was set by the Assembly of 1% of the GDP to be invested in research. Establish national innovation hubs and fully domesticate and integrate STISA into national development strategy. And our sincere belief is by 2034, next 9 years, I'm just giving an example, like vaccines are manufactured in our own soil. We have a number of initiatives ongoing, and we hope that will happen. Artificial intelligence will be speaking African languages. That's also another dream. We have a project to really influence the whole artificial intelligence actors to localize content in our African content to benefit from our own people in their own language. Clean energy powers African industries. That's another dream. And African discoveries compete at the highest level, and eventually they get a lot of patent that will make us, a global player. This is a structured ambition backed by a concrete strategy, a robust governance, of course in writing, and a more or less clear financing roadmap, and strategic partnership across public, private, and academic spheres. So to cut the long story short, in this year, the African Union will hopefully roll out this overweighted African Education, Science and Technology and Innovation Fund. And that fund is expected to catalyze investment in teachers training, EdTech, and Skills Lab. And we call upon all partners to align their funding with the Decades Cluster and to report jointly on results through our Pan-African Index on Innovation and Education. Education builds the foundation. That's a reality. We cannot move it. Science and innovation build superstructure. That's a reality also that we cannot move. And together, they define Africa's pathway to sovereignty through knowledge, having in mind that we are moving in an era of knowledge-based economy. What is the take-home message? When Africa learns, Africa leads. That is exactly the Africa we want, and I thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Excellency. I think 9 years is not too much. It's very close to door, and we hope that our ambitious dreams will come true. Now the floor open for media. Introduce yourself and your institution, and the floor is for media also. And yes, please. Yes, we start with the lady, and after that, yes.
My name is Sharon.
Okay, my name is Sharon. I work with China Daily, Africa. My question goes to Commissioner. I'm asking about China cooperation in the institutions across African institutions and the scholarships that China offers to the African institutions. What do you say about this? Where can Africa still cooperate with China in terms of advancing it?
Thank you, Commissioner. I'm Dai, and with People's Daily of China. And my question is very similar to what the other panelists talk. And actually, last year in October, the first conference of the China-Africa Agriculture Technology Innovation Alliance was held here in Addis Ababa, and the convention attended that. And a month later, and the 2025 China-Africa Innovation Cooperation Development Forum was held in Wuhan, Hubei province in China. And my question is that, how do you think the Chinese counterparts can play a role in enhancing the technology innovation here, and including the digitalization process, including the agriculture innovation, and some fields like that? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. My name is Muluna from Xinhua News Agency. Last year, the EU has introduced a new form of social contract anchored in education and skill development to unlock fulfilling the aspiration of its people. If this new social contract is introduced or in place, how is it progressing? And similarly, the EU also unveiled a roadmap dedicated to the advancing quality of education across the continent. How this roadmap is progressing? Thank you.
Now, Your Excellency, you can answer this. We can take another round of questions later.
Sorry, I might have missed some of the names. I only picked Sharon. The other one I didn't pick. And even the last one I didn't pick. But anyway, I can see the faces, so that is the most important thing. Thank you very much, Sharon, for this question about the China-Africa cooperation. And I think it is linked to also the second question, because it is something that is related. We need to understand the China-Africa cooperation as a long-standing partnership. If you are following, there is a big forum. I don't remember the name of how is it called? Is it FOCAC? Something like that. Yes, FOCAC. Yes. So it is happening, and it happened in Beijing, if you have followed. And there was a commitment directly from the highest authority of China. And one of the most important commitment was this most important people-to-people exchange that actually was even launched here early this year. So in terms of cooperation, before even I formally reported here, I signed with the Ministry of Science and Technology China a memorandum of understanding on cooperation in scientific and research matters. That memorandum of understanding is there. It's very open. I've met the Minister of Science and Technology China at least 3 times since I reported here. The first one was in a G20 meeting in South Africa. Then I met him here during the signing ceremony of that particular MOU. Then I met him in China when we went for the China-Africa Innovation Forum. So there is a lot of potential, but there is a lot, even as of now, happening on the ground. We have a number of joint labs operating in a number of countries. One of them is Kenya, another one is Rwanda. We have a joint lab operating. We have cooperation, we have exchange, we have scholarship. Of course, it may need to be structured in a sense and in a way that it benefits more the people you might be aware that there is an institute called Confucius Institute that, help young people to learn Chinese culture. And our ambition, and we have, had a discussion on the same with the ambassador, is why can't we, because anyone going to China for scholarship, many of them, they go and they pursue their studies in Chinese. Why don't we organize a kind through the many Confucius Institute? Why don't we organize a kind of training in terms of Chinese language and Chinese culture for those students when they are still in their comfort zone before they can go to China to pursue their studies? It is something that can really help, because when you go there, I've been in my previous work having to follow students that are on our scholarship there. Some of them, they struggle to really integrate in the Chinese community. So there is a lot of potential. We are about to set a joint committee for the memorandum of understanding that we have signed. And that joint committee is the one which will look at which activities, of course, in alignment with our strategy, to put forward for the future cooperation. And as I talk to you now, we are also discussing with the Ministry of Education China on a memorandum of understanding in the education sector. So we have exchanged already a draft, and we believe that by this year it can also be signed, and that will open an opportunity for our African Institute to partner on equal terms with Chinese institutions. I'm not sure, because a response, it depends. If you have, you can quote, you can give me the marks to your question. I'm very open. Now, on the other question, yes, you mentioned this Agriculture Innovation Alliance, which happened in October here in partnership with our African Academy of Science and with the Agriculture Academy of China. It's great. It is great. I was there, I even delivered some remarks, but I was saying, yes, as we move with this kind of alliance, let us also have a look to the current trend. And I remember to have suggested that we move and make an artificial intelligence alliance that can be cross-cutting and really help us. And I believe in the next conversation that I had with the African Academy of Science, I think they picked it, and they might be now discussing with the Chinese part how they can upgrade it to that level. Why does this matter? It's very interesting because, as I said in my small introductory statement, we are in a knowledge-based economy. So knowledge comes first. Anything you have in your brain, you can still have a way to implement it on the ground. But if you don't have anything in your brain, then there is nothing you can do. And it's very interesting because when you share your knowledge, then you come to know more. It's not like when you have money, you give me money, then I take your money, then I go with it. When you give me knowledge, you keep it. you understand? You keep it. So this exchange, this scientific forum, it's an opportunity to exchange. You know, there is a lot of problem around, but there is a lot of solution in the air. The issue is how do we match them? In that particular perspective, we have a lot to learn. Otherwise, it was also interesting for me to be in Wuhan, and there was also a lot of initiative and a lot of effort for joint venture, Africa and China scientists and innovators. It is something that really we support fully, and I think it is something that can be taken to scale through the big umbrella of the FOCAC commitment. Now, the question on social contract. I'm not sure if I'm aware, but I believe that we have already a social contract on the African continent through the Agenda 2063. And on education, we are more active on aspiration number 1 and number 6. That's exactly where we focus. Africa, which is prosperous, and inclusive growth and sustainable development, and that's where we want really to push for research product to be the one to improve the living of the people. You know, there is a lot of research happening on the African continent, but our research, if we are very lucky, they were published in Nature. That is the highest ranked journal that publishes our research. But when you attempt to reach out the content of your own publication, it becomes tricky. And we want to transform those brilliant ideas into patent that can be taken to scale in terms of, you know, product and services to the people. So this is the kind of contract, social contract that I imagine. I assume that I am not aware of which kind of contract you are talking about, but that is my own take. Now on education, on quality education, you know, there is a trade-off here. Because yes, indeed, we are many, and that is part of our strength. Because being many is a potential. Back to history, you know, any developed country used to be the most populated one at a time of history. That's a fact. And I don't think the course of history will change with Africa. So being many on this continent is okay. But how do we take advantage of our young population today? There is a number of theory. They talk about gold mine, yes, but they also talk about tick time bomb. And the only aspect to unlock that particular potential of the youth is education. We have been seeing people being educated. What is important is not the whole people being educated, is what do they take out from education for their own kind of survival in this very competitive community. So quality education is key. Of course, access is a priority because we have on the African continent, we don't have 100% of our kids accessing schools, so access remains a priority. But quality education is key. And there is a number of, you know, if you look at the CESA, that's why we talk about focusing on foundational learning. And we talk about focusing on teachers' development. You know, if you don't have good teachers, there is no way you can dream about quality education. But I always mention the issue of artificial intelligence because artificial intelligence is, of course, by name it's intelligence. If the natural intelligence, the one we have naturally in our brain, was nurtured in a school, artificial intelligence shall also be nurtured in a school. And then, if you want artificial intelligence to be nurtured in a school, then you need first to, you know, focus on teachers. You know, if you have ever been in a school, first level, you look at the kids of 5, 6 years in a school, and you look at the teacher, they are standing in a class of 50. Some of them are crying, some of them are doing this, they don't know what to do. Come a year later, those people will greet you in a way and in a sense that will leave you crying because the teacher has done something. So we believe that focusing on teacher will help us move whatever agenda we want to move in terms of quality education, and that's what we advocate for, and that's what is in our strategies, especially in the CESA. Thank you.
Second round. Second round. Yes, please.
Good afternoon.
to ensure the meaningful inclusion and active participation of youths and rural communities operating within the informal educational systems.
You said CISA or CESA? CISA. Okay, science, technology, and innovation. Very good. I have a question, but, oh, sorry. Oh,
yeah,
okay.
Thank you. Edith Mutedia, China Daily. You talked about localization of AI content, which is quite interesting. So I would like to hear more about that and how it's going to impact Africa and the economy. And also, what is the status of AI development in Africa? And what is AU doing to encourage more implementation, especially startups, research labs, the like? Thank you.
Hi, my name is Ayanat, and I'm from DevEx. It was just a kind of a similar question, just to follow up. You had mentioned wanting to create an AI alliance earlier with the African Academy of Sciences. I was just hoping you could elaborate on that a little bit, what you would like that to look like and who would be involved. And similarly, on the AI question, you were mentioning in your opening remarks about the need for AI to be in local African languages. And I wanted to know if you could again expand on that, if that was something that the African Union itself is engaging directly with technology companies, or just how you're doing that advocacy.
Thank you very much. Let me start by this gentleman. You want to know how can the implementation of STISA be more inclusive, right? Have you read through the implementation plan? I would suggest that you talk to this young lady. She will share with you that implementation plan, and you will get your own answer. Is that okay? No, maybe you want more. You know, as I said, in education, we are very lucky. We are very lucky because we are born with a level of natural intelligence. And that's probably not our luckiness, because we miss really the understanding of the community, because we tend to prioritize, you know, things that make noise quickly when they are not done. Like if I'm sick, you know, it's a problem. Everyone will know it. You understand? And they will make noise to the Ministry of Health, and the Ministry of Health probably will get the attention of the Ministry of Finance and will get money. If I'm hungry, the Minister of Agriculture is likely to get a lot of money quickly because people are hungry. But if I'm not educated, it's not a problem that you see immediately. You understand? But I will become your problem, either I want it or not. And I will be the one causing your only health problems and even your, feeding problems anyway. So from an implementation level of this science, technology, and innovation strategy, what we want is to make a kind of shift from an Africa, which is just there, you know, a consumer of technology, just like that, like AI, and believe all of you are using it. But is it that we want to see happening for this African continent? Let me tell you, one day I requested one of the AI tools that we use, how to behave on a dining table in Africa. I can't tell you the response I got. I'm telling you, because we are just, it's like on the TV, you know? You are very happy looking at the TV, but what if you are the other side? Look at the shift in terms of impact. So we want to be the other side to produce the technology, and this can happen. You don't need to be more educated to innovate. So the STISA carries that particular spirit. We want to make sure that innovation happens at each and every level, And if we are to be focused on the current trend, you know, innovation is by nature digital. And if you are not digital, you are unlikely to innovate. And God knows how the young people are digital today. So this is just to show you, but you can elaborate by yourself in the implementation strategy that was very much, cross-checked by Auda Nepad and other experts. You will see that the youth component is part of what we really focus on in the implementation of that particular strategy. So there was this question on localizing content. You know, this is in fact, this is a must because we are being cheated. As I'm saying, when you prompt any of these AI tool we use, you will get a very smart statement. You understand? But it is all but nothing from our own local context. You understand? It will appear very smart, but it has nothing about our own context. So if we want our own context to be reflected in what our own kids will be prompting, then we need the content to be local. Now, what if I just speak Swahili, okay? And I don't understand your English. So that means I'm completely excluded from the business because I can't prompt. Or even if I was to prompt, I would be translating from a language to another, and then maybe the content, what I want, will not come as the way I want it. So this is something that, indeed, I can't say that we have moved so far. We have an artificial intelligence strategy that is there. It is also as new as the strategies that I'm talking about. The implementation strategy of it, I'm not sure if it has been rolled out because it is managed by the sister department. I'm sure it will be coming out, but one of the focus will be this localizing content for all, African, despite their own skills in terms of language, to benefit from this particular new technology. Now, about the startup, the startup, they can run on their own. They are very smart. Some of them, they are even very far, more than we can think about this. Yes, but indeed, they need an environment that, can support them to move through. And I think, as I said, the STISA and all the move around the skills development is prioritizing startups as potential drivers of SMEs and the other key innovation that will bring, ideas into business and services. AI Alliance. Why did I refer to AI Alliance? Maybe the response is in the first question that I got. If agriculture that has been with us for decades was in need of an alliance, so it matters most for AI. And when you look at the current development, AI moves each and every day to another level. So if you think you have your own AI and you are using it the way you want, then you are lost. But if you are in alliance, because my understanding is an alliance, it is an association of associations and associations that make a big network. You understand? And the network are to exchange knowledge and to be kept at the same level of understanding of these critical matters, which is AI. And if you are very much informed, our sister continent, Europe, has a powerful artificial intelligence alliance that is running. And I think we cannot wait for them to experience it for 20 years for Africa to also catch up and, make a good move also in this particular technology. Now, AI in African language, yes, this is possible. I had an opportunity to receive the Vice President of Google in my office, and they have a big ambition and big investment. I can't mention the amount because it's not my business, but they are based in Nairobi, Kenya. They have the Africa office in Nairobi, Kenya, and I think they are willing to invest in these African languages. Already Kiswahili is in, and I think there is another, 100 languages in already. So this is something that we need to push because indeed they are in business, but for us, we are at the service of our own people. So we really need to push on this. And once, we need to make anyone comfortable with this technology because tomorrow will be late. If you don't make it today, then anyone who is not comfortable in English, French, or even Chinese, or I don't know which other language, will be lost completely. So that is what I can, again, give as an answer. And I would appreciate the marks that I have got for that.
Thank you, Excellency. If there is no other question, you have follow-up questions?
Research is usually underfunded in Africa. You talked about the need to invest more in research, but most of the countries underfund it, apart from some few countries like South Africa. So in terms of encouraging them, what are you exactly doing? And also I talked to somebody about indigenous knowledge and they said that Africa doesn't have indigenous researches. our research are written by other countries like Europe, but we Africans don't have databases and the research on our indigenous knowledge. What are you doing about this?
Hello, my name is Martin Siedu from Ghana. I'm asking the question regarding your earlier statement about the AU rolling out funding for education. You said there's a possibility. You didn't sound too sure about that. So just for purposes of clarity, how are we looking at sourcing this funding? Our member states also are going to be, contributing to the fund, and or how can they benefit from the fund or tap into the fund if need be? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, research funding. That's a big issue. And we really need to make a difference between a research and a consultancy. When you look at the budget allocated to consultancies in Africa, that's too much money. That's really too much money. So it's a matter of how we really strategize. And I agree with you that South Africa has moved with this, and look at where it is today compared to other countries of Africa. The target of 1% GDP. I had an opportunity to be in that particular, in the meeting, the official opening of the STI week. And there is the principal secretary, research, science and innovation in Kenya, who announced that Kenya was moving to go up to 2% of the GDP in the next 10 years, committing for 1 billion. Is it 1 trillion? He said 1 trillion Kenyan shillings. So it is, in terms of advocacy, you just don't stop talking. And we want academia to be more vocal because they want training our leaders. And should be influential enough to push for this kind of investment in research. And what we can do from, of course, there is this strategy, and it was approved at highest level, so there is a country commitment. But for us, we continue with advocacy. That's what we do. And in that advocacy, we also carry out a kind of benchmarked narrative of what can happen when you invest in research. There is a project that is known on the African continent. It was funded by the World Bank. It is the African Higher Education Centers of Excellence. That project came up with an initiative whereby, of course, country would borrow, and then universities are given seed money to create a centers of excellence. And part of the deliverables were like publications. But beyond that, the project included an aspect of funding with seed money, incubation centers. I have an example of an incubation center in a country where I was based at that time, Uganda. An incubation center that picked it, and it received only 250,000 USD. They worked on an innovation. It was during the COVID time. They came up with a product called COVIDX. I'm telling you that product was very helpful. We all used it, and it was helpful. It is still under the market in Uganda. It was a really product from research that was taken in a very short time to the market. So research leads to innovation, and innovation leads to product and service if well supported. So this is the kind of narrative that we put forward for the government to understand that indeed we need to learn from what happened sometimes back in other countries, and we need to look at what they did and how they managed to be where they are today. Indigenous knowledge. This is another aspect that has really been neglected. If you look at the STISA, it is part of what is to be addressed. But again, we also need to understand that through history, I think the narrative has evolved. You know, we have these traditional healers. I don't know how do you call them in your own language. Have you ever used them? Or are you ready to use them? Oh, no, you are a Christian, sorry. Is that the reason for not using it? Does it work? It doesn't work? So we also need to change our own mindset, because traditional and indigenous knowledge works for us. You understand? So we need to trust in it in a sense. And then, you know, we use it. Otherwise, anyway, I can't elaborate in this, but I'm very passionate on this, and I know how we were cheated up to abandoning our own practice that were very, very, very useful to really help our own people. And I would wish to refer to an experience of China. You know, China, they evolve in parallel, like this traditional medicine, and you know, they evolve in parallel. And we can learn from there. We can really learn from there and then value our own natural product, and we have many. So, Martin, thank you very much for the question, and I want to inform you that your country, Ghana, has already committed to this fund. And we really appreciate that. So now, this is a fund, and the way it was approved, it was, you know, the mandate to develop the whole aspect was given to the African Development Bank. You understand? So they got that particular assignment, and they are doing it. They did a whole feasibility study that is yet to be shared with us. But I believe, through the discussion that I just had with a director from that bank, that really they did a thorough study, because when the fund is inside the bank, and it is not the first fund that they're establishing, so they look at it. You know, they really look at around what can really be helpful. But the time when it comes to us, I think we shall also guide to maintain the spirit of the creation of the fund, because it is rooted into ownership of our own challenges, but also into solidarity, African solidarity. So for the moment, that is where I can end with your question, and I thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Banyan Kimbono, and thank you, members of the media, and see you in the next press conference. Thank you so much.